The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, this is Emma Waite from InfoSec Institute. Thank you for attending the webinar for the SecurityIQ implementation. We'll begin shortly here. We'll give a couple more minutes for those folks that are still getting logged into GoToWebinar. Do note that everyone is going to be on mute for the duration of the meeting. If you do have questions, you can post them there. I've also included 2 handouts that you can download during the call to reference, and then this call will be recorded. But like I said, we'll get started here in about a minute, so thank you. Okay, so it looks like it is that time. Thanks again for everyone joining us on the call today. My name is Emma Waite, and I'm here with InfoSec Institute to talk about the SecurityIQ product and how to get everything set up so that way you can get your campaign launched. I also invited one of my colleagues, Sonia Christofferson, to the call, who's going to be managing the question portion of the GoToWebinar. As mentioned, if you weren't on the call earlier, you are going to stay mute for the duration of the call, but if you do have questions, feel free to use that question option, and then we'll take breaks and Sonia will check in and let me know when questions are being asked. This call will be recorded and sent out afterwards, and I've also included 2 handouts for you to reference during today's call. So first, what I'd like to do, let me just share my screen here really quick. Okay, so this first part I'm just going to cover real quick. So I was taking a look at a lot of your accounts, and it looks like some folks still haven't had learners added into the platform. What I'm going to cover quickly is just how to get learners added into the platform, whitelisting, customizing your account settings, and then afterwards we'll go into getting your first campaign launched. If most of you have admin access into the platform, when you log in, one area that I like to point out first is this awareness program automation section of the platform. This is going to be a great tool for you to utilize not only to get your account set up, but during the lifespan of your time here with SecurityIQ. So what this does is it'll give you tasks that you can go and complete. So I'll show you an example here. So if you go into your account and you were to click on one of these areas, if you drill down, it will give you a nice overview of what that task is, and then you can mark it as complete. If you're reviewing some of these tasks, again, some of these you don't have to complete right away, but we do recommend doing that to fully utilize the platform. If you choose not to do that, you can always just mark it as complete, so that way it can get off your task list there. And as far as adding learners into the platform, so there's one of 2 ways that you can go about adding learners into the platform. The first of which is our recommended approach, just because it does help automate and manage your learners better in and out of the platform. And it's syncing with your Active Directory. So we do have an Active Directory sync tool. And how you access this tool is going back to the platform. You'll hover over learners, select Active Directory Synchronizer. And then on this page, you will find the compressed zip file that you'll download here. In this file, there are 3 files that you can access. The first one is a GUI80 import executable file. To run this tool, you'll have to have admin access and be logged into the domain controller in order to run this successfully. The second file is going to be a TXT instruction file. We also have installation instructions right here that provide some great screenshots to walk you through that. And then the third file is going to be the Schedule 80 import tool that you'll run after you do your first manual sync to get that set up as a scheduled task. So again, all of those instructions are going to be listed here or in that compressed zip file that you'll download from the platform. Once you get your learners added into the platform with Active Directory, you can view a log of changes once that syncs by selecting this log of changes option here. If there are no changes to your learner list upon each sync, when you have it set up as a scheduled task, that sync will not be listed there. If a learner is removed either from that domain, otherwise you can select a specific security group when setting up your Active Directory sync, the learner will be flagged for deletion here. So learners are not automatically removed from the platform just because when a learner is removed, all of the associated information with that learner is deleted. So just make sure to pull any reports that you may need before you delete the learners there. The next option to adding learners into the platform is importing them using a CSV file. Pretty straightforward process. I always recommend downloading the sample CSV file option here. The required columns that are needed in this file are going to be the first three, so first name, last name, and email address. The optional columns are nice just because it will help you create different groups, organize people by title, department. You'll be able to pull reports on specific departments. But again, pretty straightforward process there. Once you have all your files saved, you can go and choose this, preview the upload, and then it will give you a high-level overview of how many learners are being added. If any of the rows have errors, typically it's just an email address that's typed incorrectly, so you can go and change that before it's uploaded. And then once the learners are in there, then you can manage them into different groups. So again, you can build groups using the CSV file. The Active Directory tool will also import any of the security groups associated with that learner. You can choose not to import those groups if you want to build them this way, but you can build groups statically in the platform, so that's manually adding and removing people to a group. The other option is to build dynamic groups, which is a lot of heavy lifting for you. So for dynamic groups, you can select different fields that you want to filter on. So whether it's different attributes that get pulled in with the Active Directory sync or CSV file, say if you wanted to build a department group, all you'd simply have to do is write the value that you're trying to filter on. And then what it will do is when this group populates, it will pull in everyone that has the marketing filled in for the department field. Another way that you can utilize dynamic groups is to filter based off of different actions that someone completes in the platform. One group that I see that's created a lot is this fish learner group. So you can filter on fish count, and then you can choose your operator. So I'll do greater than or equal to 1. And while learners are actively going into fish sim campaigns, once they get fished, they will automatically add it into this group. From there, what I've seen other customers do is that they put this group into additional training that's probably a little bit more rigorous to try to train them on what they should have noticed, so on and so forth. You can also then manage the learners individually. So if I go to learners and individuals here, once you hover over a learner's name, you will have the option to delete them. As stated before, when you do remove a learner, it deletes any information associated with that learner, so do make sure that you pull the reports prior to deleting. You can also view their learner profile. Learners, when they get uploaded into the platform, will automatically be given a letter grade of a C, and that letter grade can go up or down based off different actions that they complete, and we'll cover that here shortly. You can also see a full list of their timeline events. So a timeline event could be when they were created, when they were added to a group, when they were added to a campaign. The next area that I like to cover is whitelisting. A pretty straightforward process, but to access the list of the IPs and domains that need to be whitelisted, simply go back to the platform. You can either click the settings gear in the top right or navigate to your account settings. Once you get to your account settings page, simply scroll down to the bottom and locate the email stack section. Then here's where you can find the IP addresses, domains, and header that you'll need to whitelist, either on your email stack and on any of the security appliances that would be checking those messages coming through. Once you have completed the whitelisting and you wanted to run a quick test, simply go back to the dashboard here And if you go to that awareness program automation section, if you click on whitelist, you can send a quick sample phishing and awareness campaign test to yourself. So it will send to the person that's logged in, so it won't send out to all learners and it won't send out to all admins. So again, great way to test to make sure everything is whitelisted appropriately before launching your campaign to all learners. So I'm going to take a pause here. Sonia, have there been any questions that have come up?
I think we pretty much answered it, but maybe just quickly review why someone would choose using the AD sync import versus the CSV import.
Yep, great question. So some of the reasons why folks would want to go the Active Directory route versus a CSV route. Again, it's all about ease of use and managing learners. So the Active Directory tool is great because it will flag learners who have been removed either from that domain or from the security group, depending on how you have the Active Directory tool set up. So that way you don't have to keep a mental note of, who's left your organization, so you go back in and have to manually delete them. Otherwise, CSV route is fine. You just have to, remember who's left the organization, who's joined, and making sure you're continuously uploading new CSV files to make sure a learner list is up to date. Hopefully that.
Perfect.
Yep. Any other questions, Sonia?
Nope, that's it for now. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. So once you have your whitelisting completed and everything looks good, the other area that I always recommend taking a look at prior to launching your campaign is customizing your account settings. So going back to the platform, how to get to your account settings is by this gear up here. And once you're in your account settings, you can go ahead and upload a brand for your library. So if you hit change branding, you can give your brand a name. This isn't visible to the learners. It's just to help you remember which brand you want to use, because you can have multiple branding options in there. Once you have picked your brand, then you can choose a background color. So this background color is just a banner that stretches across the top. So I'll show you what that looks like here. As far as the file goes, it can either be a PNG or a JPEG file, but it does have to be a certain size parameter. So for example, if I went in and tried to add this picture of my dog, it said no file chosen. I'm like, okay, what just happened? But it will provide an error message down here below under add branding option that my logo didn't meet the dimensions that are required of the platform. So the logo must be between 420 by 420 and 1280 by 1280 pixels. So even if your image is 1000 by 400, because it doesn't meet that 420 on the one side, it won't let you upload it. Once you choose a file that works, it will show up in the preview option here. You can preview how it looks in a training module and an email notification. So again, that's what that banner color looks like. We do have a white option if you don't want any color stretching across, as well as a landing page. This landing page is what the learner is going to see when they click on their training link to go watch some interactive training videos. Once everything looks good, then you would just select Add Brand option, and then from the drop-down, you'd select that brand if you want it as your default, and then hit Save. The other area that I like to point out is customer name. This can be updated and customized, as well as the email address here. So the email address is not tied to your admin account if it's underneath this user information section. And the reason why I like to bring this part up is because this customer name and email address may show up in some email notifications as well as email templates. And how it will show up is we use what are called variables in the platform. To show you an example of what this looks like here, this notification that I'm pulling up is a notification that a phished learner could receive. And it's basically saying, whoops, you got phished, we're only trying to help. But inside the email template editor, you'll notice words that have double brackets on either side. These are what we call variables. They help customize the message so that way the learners know that it's coming from you. So if you notice in the body of this, it will insert the customer email as well as customer name right here. So it's pulling from this section right here. By default, when your account was set up, your email address was added in. If you don't want your personal work email address to show up here, you can either remove this variable, or what you can do is update this. I have some customers that use like a general admin email or help desk email in order for them to not be contacted by their learners. Otherwise, like, hey, it's fine, people know that I'm running this program. You can leave it as is. When you do make changes to this user information section, make sure to hit save right here on the bottom. You can add additional account administrators to your account. It's a fairly easy process. Simply select new administrators. You'd enter the person's email address here, and then when you hit add, it will send them a verification email to get their account set up. All admins will receive weekly emails about their campaigns through our auto reports functionality, or you can choose to set up different reports to get sent out on a weekly basis as well. If there's some folks that don't need admin access, but they still want to be included on those weekly report emails, you can add them as a report recipient here. Two-factor authentication, so this is going to be for account administrators only. Learners and report recipients do not require a username or password to access the content, just because they won't get access into the back end to manage campaigns and manage learners. When you enable this two-factor authentication, it's only enabled for the person that's logged in. So if you have multiple administrators, they'll have to log in and enable this for their own phone number. And it's simply just an SMS message with a 7-digit numeric code that you have to enter there. This email log section, just to cover this really quick, you can view the log of the last 7 days worth of emails sent out by this account. So this includes both the FishSim phishing emails and aware notifications. So some of the uses that you may want for this email log is to see when FishSim emails are getting sent out. Or you may have a learner contact you saying, I never got my enrollment notification and I'd really like, or you can go and see like, hey, did the notification go out? If so, that learner may have accidentally deleted it, or it may have gotten caught somewhere. So again, just helps with troubleshooting, or if you're curious to see when emails are being sent out. And then learner grade. So as mentioned earlier in the call, learners are allocated a grade once they're added into the platform, and that grade can go up or down based on a couple different sets of criteria. And as an admin, you can configure the grade that matches how you deem an action, whether it's positive or a negative action, and how that impacts a learner's grade. So again, pretty straightforward here, but it's just a sliding scale, and it is retroactive. So if you did want to go back and reconfigure the grades, it will look at the learner's profile and all of their timeline events, and then reconfigure their grade based on that. Okay, and going back to account settings. Now going to the middle section right here. One thing that I do want to note, this is important for everyone on the call here. So in this FishSim section right here, specifically looking at this My Domain section right here, if you go into this settings gear, this is where you can list all of your learners' email address domains. So when we set up your account, it automatically put in OPLIN's email address. So you'll have to go in and add your domain to this portion of it. And the reason why you want to add this domain is because we have this area that's called the footer in our FishSim email templates. And what the footer is, we added that in due to the Can Spam Act of 2003, and it gives people the ability to unsubscribe from emails. If your domain is listed here and the box is checked, then learners will not be able to unsubscribe from the emails, but you have to go in and do that since you are doing this for training purposes and not for commercial reasons. But I do like to bring that up just because it does say in that paragraph, like as you probably noticed, this is a simulated phishing message sent by Greene County, for example, since I'm in their account. If you don't want it to be blatantly obvious in your FishSim campaigns, you want to check this box with the footer, and then that footer is only suppressed if you have that learner's email address domain listed here. And then the last portion of account settings I like to cover before we get into planning your campaign is this FishNotify plugin. So this FishNotify plugin is a great tool that you can install on your email client. So the email clients that are available are Outlook, Office 365, and a Google Chrome extension. And what this tool does is it allows learners to identify potentially malicious emails that are getting into their email, as well as identifying emails sent through SecurityIQ through a FishSim campaign. So if it is a potentially malicious email and a learner clicks on it, a message will pop up saying this email is not a simulated phishing email and may be malicious. It has been reported to the Information Security Department for further analysis. If it's through a FishSim campaign and they have used the plugin, it will say, congrats, you successfully detected an InfoSec Institute SecurityIQ phishing simulation email. On this page, and I'll show you how I got here in a little bit, you can change the messaging for this if you want to tweak it. You can also choose that when a learner uses this tool, they can go ahead, the email that they've selected the add-in for plugin, You can either mark it as spam or move it to trash. When it is a non-FishSim email, so it wasn't sent by SecurityIQ and it could be malicious, another area that we do is we've actually put it into this quarantine section here. So you go to FishSim and select quarantine, and what it will do is it will, you'll be able to go in and analyze the contents of the email as well as the source code to see if any additional blacklisting is needed. As an admin, you can go in and you can go ahead and set up quarantine notifications, so that way if anything ends up in your quarantine section, you can be notified immediately, daily, weekly, or monthly. In that email notification, you can also have a TXT file attached to it, as well as who submitted that email. So again, a really great tool to not only analyze potential threats, but get to give people kudos for successfully detecting a FishSim email. So I'm going to take a quick break. Sonia, have there been any other questions about the account settings before we move on to starting a campaign?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple here. One is revolving the report recipients, specific to, and I think this could go beyond auto reports as well, but will the reports that are sent show individual staff names and results, and can that be disabled? And the reference for that question is that some of the IT admins shouldn't be allowed to view staff results due to HR restrictions.
Okay. Yep. So in that report recipients option, it will give them a CSV file of all of the campaign data. So if they cannot view specific learner information, then you'll have to make sure you have to go set up reports to go and exclude that information. So whether it's just showing group names and not individual learners. However, if you don't want someone receiving reports, then we'll have to work through on how we want to get that set up, because in the auto reports functionality, it will give them a breakdown of each individual learner if you do choose to go into that section of it. And I'll actually show you really quick what auto reports look like. So if I go in here, so inside auto reports, it will give you a nice high-level overview of what happened, and this will be sent out, but someone will have the ability to drill down by clicking this little bar graph in the top right corner to get a breakdown of each individual learner. So again, if for HR purposes, they can't see the results for each person, then you'll need to make sure you set up your report recipients in that matter. Hopefully that answered your question. Sonia, you said there was a couple more?
Yeah, one other one too. This is about FishNotify, the reporting button. How does SecurityIQ know if the user submitted a non-phishing email?
Yep, so if it's an email sent through a FishSim campaign, all of our email templates have a 1x1 tracking pixel in them. And if that tracking pixel is detected, then the FishSim button knows that it's through a SecurityIQ FishSim campaign and will not be put into quarantine.
Perfect. That's all the questions for right now.
Perfect. So the next portion that I like to cover is just how to get campaigns out the door. So by this time, before launching your campaign, I always like to make sure that you have your learners added in there, the groups built that you'd like to move in, everything whitelisted correctly, the custom branding, and then once you're ready to start your campaign, we can go into different portions right here. So the first campaign option I'm going to cover is how to build a FishSim campaign. So those folks that are new to SecurityIQ, FishSim campaigns are going to be those simulated phishing messages that you can send out to either all learners, a specific group of learners, that test them on how to identify specific parts of the email that could be malicious. So how to get to and navigate our FishSim section. So when you're in the platform, I always recommend starting with the email templates. So to access our email template library, all you have to do is hover over FishSim and select email templates. And then once on this page, you'll be able to see a complete list of email templates that are available to you. we do have a couple different tab options. The Systems tab is going to be ones that we created here internally for our customers. The Contributed tab, these are going to be other email templates that other SecurityIQ customers contributed that they thought other people may find them beneficial. If you hover over the email templates, you can preview them here. So you can preview them as a learner simply by typing the learner's name in here. After previewing, if you're like, hey, I'd really like to make changes to it, so you can make changes to any of the email templates simply by cloning it. So if you hit clone, it will take you to our template editor page. Here's where you can go and make changes to the body of the email. Also make changes to the from name, from email address. Pretty much anything on this page can be customized. Again, you can see this template makes use of variables. So this helps customize the message to make it a little bit more specific to the person that's receiving it. To view a full list of the variables that are available in the platform, if you scroll down to the bottom of our template editor page in the system note, what you can do is click here, and then a new page will open up, and then it will provide a full list of variables and a quick definition of where the information is being pulled from. If you uploaded using a CSV file or Active Directory, please make sure that you have the field filled in. Otherwise, it will just provide a blank space. If your department field was empty and you had this learner underscore department variable in there, it wouldn't show any information in that page. You can also change the attack type of each individual email. So this attack type right here, you can change it to be a drive-by attack, which that's simply someone just clicking on the link, and once they click on the link, they're brought to training. It can be an attachment attack. So this is where you can include an attachment. The different attachment type options are PowerPoint, Word, or Excel. And once selected, you can give your attachment a name. And then with attachment attacks, we do track to see if they are enabling macros. Data entry, so what this is, they'll click on the link in their email and then they'll be brought to a data entry login page. So I'll show you a quick example. Actually show you our LinkedIn template because that one does a pretty good job at showing that. So inside this template here, when someone goes in and clicks on this portion, because there's no learners, I won't be able to show this action here. But once I click on this who's looking, it will open up a login page. We don't keep track of the username or password that's entered on that login page. We simply track to see if the sign in button is clicked or login button. And once that's clicked, the learner will be reported as phished and they enter data. So you will be able to differentiate between those that simply clicked on the link in the email and brought them to the login page versus actually entering data there. If you do want to make use of the data entry attack type, these site options right here can be customized and viewed. To view a full list of them, you just go to FishSim and data entry templates, and that's where you can find all of the login pages for this attack type there. The last attack type for FishSim is going to be this business email compromise attack. And this is going to be, we've actually seen a lot of these attacks recently in the news where people are getting, and hackers are getting a little bit more strategic on how they approach people. So an email could be coming from the CFO to an admin saying, hey, I don't have the corporate card on me. Can you send me the Amex card so I can purchase this for my team, right? So it's trying to get the person to respond back with sensitive information. We do have a pre-built templates for these business email compromise attacks, but just note that when you select this as an attack type, that's what's going to register there. You can also choose what education is selected. So when a learner clicks on the link, they're either brought to an interactive training, a static page. We also have phishing indicators, which are going to be little callouts. So when a learner clicks on a link, a new internet browser page is opened, and then on that it will have a screenshot of the email that they just selected or clicked on, and then specific callouts of what they should have noticed prior to clicking on the link. And then we also have an option here called blind education. So when a learner gets, click on a link, so rather than being brought to anything, we can hit this preview education here to see what this looks like. It's just a web page not found. And the reason why we created this type of education is a lot of times when people are running their first campaigns, they may want to run a blind baseline campaign. So a baseline campaign could be, just getting a your current susceptibility rate as an organization to get your starting fish point. And then for your fish percentage, you then can track over time how you're able to lower it through training. So that's one of the reasons why someone would want to use a blind education there, just so that way, you know, for the first baseline one, rather than them getting educated and then they can let their neighbors know, hey, did you get that LinkedIn template? Don't click on it. It's a simulated phishing message. Our hopes with the blind education, it minimizes that water cooler talk, so that way your number is the most accurate possible if you are reporting on that. You can also upload new templates from scratch if you didn't want to make changes to it. So if any of you know HTML, how to pull a source code from an email, you can paste that into this tools area right here, and then just paste the source code in there. And then what it will do is it will automatically build out that email template. Any of the links in that email will automatically be changed into links that will direct them to the education that you've picked here. Speaking of education, one thing I didn't show you, you can view a full list of education and customize any of them by going to FishSim and Education. And then this is where you can go and look at the different interactive modules as well as these static pages. So a static page, you'll simply click on it and then there'll be a quick blurb in there. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's what the static page will look like. So you can customize the look and feel of that if you wanted to change the colors. Again, you have to know a little HTML to do that. But it's pretty straightforward. You just go in there and then you can change the color of the background, paste some images. With images, with all of our template editors and notifications, you cannot choose images from your desktop. You'll have to go host the image somewhere and get the image URL in order to get the image to paste inside the template there. Perfect. I'm going to take a quick pause. Sally, do you have any questions on customizing email templates or any questions in general?
Nope, it looks like that we do not. And just as a heads up for anyone that's wondering how to create those templates, obviously you'll have me as a resource going forward to drill into specific templates you might need. So this is just kind of an overview to begin with, but no questions at this time. Thanks, Emma.
Perfect. So once you have your email templates built or selected, the next step that you could do is creating a battery. So what a battery is, think of it like a folder that contains multiple email templates that are available for you to use in your campaign. If you go to FishSim and batteries, you will notice that we do have some pre-built batteries here in the platform. So again, we typically recommend running a baseline campaign first. We do have some pre-built ones here. You can preview to see what content that we recommend. So for example, with these baseline ones, we recommend maybe using something that people use on a daily basis, whether it's Netflix, LinkedIn, Amazon, but basically anything that people would be receiving emails from on a daily basis is what we recommend there. If you don't like any of the recommended ones, you can build new batteries from scratch. Just give your battery a name, and here's where you can add templates. Any of the templates, if you did customize any of the systems or contributed ones, it automatically end up in your personal tab here. Otherwise, you can use the search functionality to find the template that you've identified that you'd like to use in your battery. Once you have your battery built, you can hit save, and then it will be available just to flip to the page on the bottom here. On this page, you'll also notice this month 1 through 12 program. This is going to be part of our Security Excellence program. What this is we put this together for those that maybe don't want to do a lot of customization or a lot of building out of specific content for your program, but you do want to run something. So we have some customers that go and put this content in on a monthly basis, and then they don't have to think about it. If you want to go preview it, you can hit this preview option right here to see what content we recommend. And maybe you're like, hey, I like this idea of a month-to-month plan, but I want to change up some of the content. So some customers that I work with use this kind of a recommended guideline, and then they tweak their batteries based on what's more applicable to their organization. Once you have your content built, then you're all set to deploy your first campaign with FishSim. So simply go to FishSim and Campaigns. On this page, you'll select New Campaign. Give your campaign a name. Here's where you'll select your branding option there. Under learners, ignore simulated bot learners. This is for our free accounts. They can't run campaigns to real learners, but obviously you can. So in this section, you can choose if you want to run it to all the learners in your account. Otherwise, you can specify what specific groups. If this is your first campaign, I typically recommend running it to yourself or maybe a small group first to test to see if everything's rendering correctly. But if you feel confident in the templates, everything looks good, then you can deploy it either to all learners groups. And then in this content section right here, here is where you can select either individual templates you'd like to do, select a battery, so the one that we just built or one of the pre-built ones, or a category. So the category, as you saw in the email template section, we organize our email templates into different categories. Again, if you're not super picky about the content, but you want to run a PhishSim campaign, one category I recommend is the Catch of the Week category. And what the Catch of the Week is our marketing team puts together content of something that may be extremely applicable to maybe a threat that was just talked about on the news, or say, Black Friday is coming up here in a couple months. So they may create an email template that has like, oh, early release of Black Friday deals or something enticing that way. So that's what you'll see in that Catch of the Week category. If you select a category or a battery, one thing I do like to point out is by default, it sends all of the phishing templates in that grouping. Some of our categories have over 20 email templates, so you probably don't want to send all 20 email templates to each individual learner. So the other option that we have here is send random phishing templates. And what you can do is you can choose, so the Catch of the Week category has 26 email templates. Out of these 26 templates, I want each individual learner to receive 2 of those 26 templates. So it randomizes it a bit. It inhibits Joe and Jane sitting next to each other from getting the same templates. So just know that option is there. This phished actions section. So first, this notification to be displayed if a learner's phished. That is going to be that follow-up training reminder email. So once they clicked on a link, they're brought to the education. They'll also receive a follow-up email letting them know, whoops, you got phished. Don't worry, we're only trying to help. You can customize that message by going to PhishSim and Notifications. The other area that I like to point out on this phished actions is if you chose not to set up a dynamic group, but you want to build this group specific to this campaign, you'll build a static group, and then you can choose the group here for any of the phish learners that you want this to be added to. And some of the benefits for this for dynamic groups, you can't specify which campaign that you'd like to pull from. So if you wanted a baseline phish learner specific group, then you would need to go in and create that static group there so you can add them into this option here. Learner replies. So this is where you can track to see if people are replying to phishing emails. We built this for our business email compromise attacks. So any template that is trying to get the learner to click on the reply on their email client, you can track if they replied. By default, we don't track with what they responded with because sometimes that can be sensitive information. So we want to make sure that we're not capturing that unless you tell us to. If you do want to see what they're responding back with, if you check this box, this advanced options will appear. In the advanced options, you can choose if it matches a certain pattern. So for my example earlier, if the CFO is requesting like the corporate Amex card, you can choose, if it matches the American Express 15-digit code. Otherwise, you can store the reply up to 14 days. Once you view what they responded with, you can delete the reply. Otherwise, it will automatically delete after 14 days. But again, by default, we don't track what they responded with unless you choose any of those actions there. And in the last section before you schedule the campaign is actually choosing the time frame that you'd like the campaign to run from. Typically, for the scheduling option, the first one, if you're using a small group of templates and you didn't pick a random one, I recommend selecting this top option just because if you do like daily or weekly campaign runs, it will send the same templates on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. But if you did select a category that had a lot of different options, and sometimes this daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly campaign runs make sense. That way you don't have to think about it and you have a large number of templates to choose from. But for this example, I'll just schedule a single campaign run. You can select the start date. It either can be today or sometime in the future. You can select the number of days you'd like the campaign to run. So this does include weekends. This repeat option right here, so if I put this to 1, it'll run for the initial 30 days, and then it will repeat itself for an additional 30-day run after that. If you are running a blind campaign, meaning that you don't want any education associated to it because you want to get the most realistic phished percentage count for reporting, you can turn that whoops, you got phished email off So again, that email only gets sent out to the Fish learners. So this Fish learner action, what you'll do is select do nothing. So rather than sending that follow-up training reminder, it will not send that there. The other option for scheduling is send phishing attacks at one time. I see a lot of people use this functionality when they want to test out an email or a group of emails as an admin, but they don't want to wait for them to slowly trickle in. Because again, emails do send out at random. So what they'll do is they'll choose today's date, and then if you choose any time in the past, the emails will send as soon as our servers pick it up. Otherwise, another way that I see people utilize this is if they have any of our password reset or password change requests emails, for example. A lot of those are system generated emails, so they tend to send out at the same time. So what you can do is select a time in the future for all of those to be sent out at 3 o'clock. So those emails will all be sent out around the same time to make it look realistic there. Once everything looks good, you can hit save and schedule. Otherwise, you can save the campaign as a draft if you need to go back and make changes or want to run anything past folks. So that is the PhishSim campaign for a high-level overview. One area that I do like to point out on any of our pages, there's going to be this question mark option right here. This question mark will bring you to the part of the user manual that talks about how to build campaigns specifically for PhishSim. So if you do want to do a little research, just note that that question mark is there for you to use. Otherwise, as Sonia mentioned, so she's part of our client success team, so we'll make sure to get her contact information sent out so that way you can reach out to her directly. Otherwise, if you have any technical questions, we do also have the option to submit a support ticket right on the platform here. So you just click this option and then you can go ahead and submit a support ticket that way. Any questions on PhishSim campaigns, Sonia, before I move to AwareEd?
No questions at this time.
Perfect. So the next portion I'd like to cover is going to be the AwareEd campaigns. So the first thing I always recommend to folks is viewing our content library. So our content library has all of our modules, assessments, and program resources that you can make available for your learners. So if I go to the content library here, you can filter on the content because we do have a plethora of different content out there. So whether it's filtered by language, filtered by content type, otherwise, you can filter on certain topics. So for compliance purposes, if you have certain topics that you need to cover like PCI, what have you, you can filter on those as well as different areas that may be covered. So if you have some developers internally that you need to train on OWASP, for example, so the secure coding practices, you can filter on all of our OWASP modules right here. Or if you're really curious about password security and you want to run that training. So again, you just click on the box and it will show all of the modules that have topics related to password security in there. You can filter on duration as well. So we have some modules that are going to say they're 20 minutes. We have some modules that are going to be less than a minute, which we like to call videos. So we do have different options out there depending on how much you want to train your learners in the time period you're looking at. And then we also have exercise count. So what I like to show here, so we do have things that are called exercises and we also have assessments. So the difference between the two of those is exercise live within the module. So our modules are highly interactive. They keep the learner engaged during the whole time. So rather than clicking play, walking to go get coffee and walk back, there will be stops within the module itself, making sure the learner is staying engaged, learning the content, testing if they're absorbing all that content. So we do have that option there. And then assessment is going to be like a multiple choice quiz that you can put at the end of all the modules to test them on the information that they just learned. So for example, we have some pre-built assessments here. One of the ones that I recommend running for your first campaign if you're looking for recommendations, we have the Security Awareness Baseline Knowledge Assessment. So either you can just run this as a standalone assessment to gauge where your learners are at from a knowledge base. Otherwise, we do have a month one foundational course, which I'll cover here in a bit, that has a great overview of a lot of different topics within security awareness training that can give a high level overview. And then in the following months or quarters, depending on how often you want to run this training, then you can go take a deeper dive into maybe phishing, ransomware, malware. So as you notice, when I click that checkbox, a new option appeared on the left-hand side called Course Builder. So similar to FishSim, we organize our modules and assessments into what we call courses. So you can start adding content to your course actually in the content library here. So say I added the security awareness-based knowledge assessment, and then I wanted to add some more topics. I can go search from different topics here, or select the checkbox. And maybe I want to do phishing. So I'll do the phishing module as well as this baseline assessment. You can drag and drop the order that the module is shown. You can give your course a name here, and then in the course statistics, what it will do is it will say total number of modules. This does include assessments. However, this total length does not include how long it takes to finish the assessment. It's just for the training modules themselves. And then again, exercises are going to live inside the module. So this phishing module has 10 exercises in it, which is why it takes a learner 20 minutes to complete. The video itself for phishing is only about 9 minutes. Once you have your course built, you can hit save. Otherwise, we do have some pre-built courses. If you go to courses here, what you'll see is we have some training for different job titles at the organization that are already pre-built. If you use the arrows to tab over, we also have that month 1 through 12 program. So again, I highly recommend this month 1 foundational course just because it does have 7 modules in there that give a high-level overview of what security awareness training is and what the different types of threats are out there. And then it does have that 30 multiple choice question quiz at the end to train them on that. Once you have your course selected and built, the next step is going to be creating a campaign. So in this campaign, similar to FishSim, you just select new campaign, give your campaign a name, select the branding, choose which learners you'd like to add to this campaign, and then you'll select your course. You can select default language, but do note that learners can select their preferred language on their course page. Course options, so most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but the options here, so you can choose to begin modules upon page upload, so that's autoplay functionality. If you do have an assessment, all of our assessments, you can define a passing percentage in them. Our pre-built ones typically have a passing percentage around 70%. So if someone does fail an assessment, you can require them to retake that failed assessment if you'd like. The last option, and this is an important one to note if you want to do multiple runs in a campaign, is this restrict access after campaign run completion. So by default, our campaign, so say if you ran this campaign for 30 days, someone receives their enrollment notification, clicks on their training link, they can still access the training on day 31 and watch it if you don't check this box. If you'd like there to be a hard stop on day 30, what you need to do is make sure this box is checked. And then the reason why I also said this is important for multiple campaign runs is that if you are on run 2, someone could still access the training from run 1. Okay. And then notifications. So these are going to be email notifications that someone will receive during the lifespan of that campaign. So all learners will receive an enrollment notification letting them know that they've just been enrolled in the course. One thing I do like to note, previous to courses, is the course name is visible to learners to just make sure it's appropriate for what you want your learners to see. It will include their training link. That training link is unique to them. So how we differentiate each individual learner is by their email address, and then that training link is associated to that learner's email address. And the reason I also like to mention that is if Joe forwards his training link to Jane and Jane completes it using Joe's link, it will show that Joe completed it and not Jane. So just make sure people understand that and that they're using the training links that were sent to them. They can also be sent reminders throughout the course, whether it's a start your course reminder notification, which is if they haven't even clicked play on any of the modules. Finish your course notification, this is if they say they watched 2 of the 5 modules you enrolled them in. So they will get those enrollment notifications with their training reminder throughout it. And then once they've completed all the content in the course, then they'll receive a completion notification. You can also choose to include a completion certificate on their course page for them to download and print out if you'd like. The completion certificate, what it looks like is it has the name of the course, the learner's name, as well as your company logo on there. So again, a great way if you want people to be able to show off that they completed it. In the schedule option right here, same thing with the drop down. If you want to do different content on each run, I typically select the first option. Otherwise, you can choose to send out daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly campaign runs to stretch out the same content over a certain period of time. You can choose a start date here, select the number of days you'd like to run, repeat. Reset enrollment, ignore this option. This is only if you're integrating with endpoint protection, which if you're curious to see what that is, we have more information here. High level, we do have some integration with Symantec. Otherwise, we have an open API if you'd like to connect it with other endpoint protection software, and it's actually real-time learning that someone could get administered, say if they received a ransomware attack and they clicked on it. What the tool will do is it will learn what that ransomware attack looks like. It'll be able to send them real-time training about a ransomware attack. So again, more information and how to get that set up is right here. Otherwise, we do have the support option if you're curious about learning more, or Sonia's information we'll hand out at the end of the call. And then this reset learner progress. So this is very important too if you have multiple runs, just because say if we did run this for 30 days and we repeated it once, if Jane completed it within the first 30 days and then upon the next 30-day run, she'd be prompted to go complete that same content again. So if you only wanted to include those folks that did not complete it in that initial 30-day run, then you'd want to uncheck this box right here. Once everything looks good, then you can either save or schedule or save it as a campaign draft there. So I'm going to take a pause. Sonia, are there any questions about aware ad campaigns at all?
Nope, no questions right now.
Perfect. So then the next part that I like to cover quick is reporting. So there are two types of basic reports that you can pull if you'd like. The first are going to be auto reports. So anytime that you schedule a campaign, a report is automatically generated, hence the name auto reports. They give a great overview of everything that happened in that campaign. So as I showed earlier, if you go into reports here, what you can do is if you hit the status, so in this example, it will take you to this auto report page that will give you learners of how many people were enrolled, how many people participated in the campaign, give some nice bar graphs or graphical images that you can download as a PDF. Otherwise, you can drill down to each individual learner there. The other reporting option is if you select this details button when you hover over the campaign name and select the bar graph, then you can see each individual person in that campaign. And then you'll notice this download error on the page shown this option right here, where you can download all of the information that's on this screen right here. So two super easy ways to pull reports. There are some advanced reporting capabilities if you want to play around with it, but they are a bit more robust. Is this data browser option right here, or this reports tab right here. So, but for the basic reporting information, you should be able to get that with auto reports, as well as drilling down in the campaign to see, individual learners there. So, perfect. Well, at this time, that is going to be pretty much the basics of how to get everything set up in the platform. So I will give a couple minutes in case anyone had some final questions before we jump off the call today. Sonia, have there anything been trickled in?
No additional questions at this time. Obviously, like Emma said, my contact information will be shared. I will be your client success manager. So once you kind of get everything set up, I know Emma mentioned at the top of the hour, there's a few folks that still need to add learners into their platform. Once you have your learners added and you've ensured that your whitelisting is complete, feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to have a more one-on-one session on setting up either FishSim and or aware campaigns or anything else that might be, kind of lingering after we hang up.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate everyone for taking the time to join us on the call today. Like I said, this was recorded, so I'll be sending this out to our main contacts that we've been working with at Oplin. And then we'll also provide Sonia's contact information so they can share the recording, as well as Sonia's contact information, so that way you should be in good shape. But have a great rest of your Tuesday, and thank you so much.